29th, 2024, a very significant day here in Nigeria. Welcome to the Morning Brief. We're live for you in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm Kayode Okikilu, and with me, of course, is...
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning and congratulations. Maybe I'll say that to some and maybe not to some. But it's the Morning Brief on Channels Television, and we're glad that you could join us again this morning. I mean, we have a lot of things to talk about today. Yes. Good morning again. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
We're starting for you bright and early. Yes, but this is why today is significant. And you'll understand why Anne was talking about congratulations. Just in case you didn't know, May the 29th is very significant because it marks the day Nigeria returned to democracy, and every 4 years after that, it marks the day that one administration hands over to the other. And in some cases, an administration does a second term. But this day last year, this is what happened. Former President Muhammadu Buhari handed over to current president, the 16th president
of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu. You see that handover, which was official.
Absolutely. And then you see the Chief Justice just right in between.
That was inauguration day.
Oh, yes, exactly. And these were pictures, images that Nigerians saw exactly this day last year. President Bola Tinubu becoming the 16th president of Nigeria. He was governor of Lagos State, as at the time Nigeria returned to democracy. And just 24 years after he became President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that's him putting pen to paper, signing the dotted lines as it would seem. And then former President Muhammadu Buhari handing over to him. There you see that image, the first ladies on the flanks.
Yes.
One former first lady.
And the next incoming one,
exactly,
who is the current one right now. And it also marks democracy, as you said, 25 years. I mean, that handover also signified, okay, we are in a democratic rule, and it was like a formal way of saying, okay, this has to continue. So 25 years also, apart from the fact that it was the inauguration day 1 year ago, it's also 25 years of unbroken democratic rule in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
What we know as the Fourth Republic. It's been quite a journey, 25 years. And on the show today, we'll be walking through all of that journey, particularly the last 1 year of the Tinubu administration. And you see those images, him.
And a lot of people also have things to talk about today. So you'll be hearing a lot of back and forth from people in Nigeria who have witnessed firsthand what's going on, or what has been going on in the last 1 year of the Bola Tinubu administration.
Absolutely. So it's a package that we have for you. We'll hear the promises made and the reactions from Nigerians. But May 29 every year, customarily Nigerians usually expect a speech, right? The inauguration speech, because you heard the president giving his inauguration speech last year, May the 29th. And naturally, there is the expectation that there will be a speech given, but it's not quite clear what will play out today. And here is why. So we'll begin with statements that were released by the president's aides. And the first one is from Bayo Onanuga. This was released on May the 28th, and it essentially said, this is what Mr. Bayo Onanuga said in the statement released on May the 20th, which is yesterday, about President Tinubu addressing a joint sitting of the National Assembly today. Now, he said that the president will address a joint session of the National Assembly, which has lined up a program to commemorate 25 years of the nation's democratic journey at both the executive and legislative levels. He said that the president will not give a broadcast to the nation today to celebrate his first anniversary as leader of Nigeria, but he will be addressing a joint session of the National Assembly. So a lot of people went to town with that information, expecting that the president, rather than give a nationwide broadcast, will be addressing a joint session of the National Assembly. But Anne?
Well, another one came out just shortly after Bola Onanuga posted that one.
That's Bayo Onanuga.
Bayo Onanuga, beg your pardon. And this one was from the Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, that's Ajurin Gelali. The press release says that in commemoration of May 29 and first anniversary of the President's administration, it says in furtherance of his commitment to delivering good governance that President Bola Tinubu has embarked on inauguration of strategic projects across the country. He also said the last paragraph was what countered what Bayo Onanuga wrote, and it says, in view of public commentary concerning the president delivering a speech before a joint sitting of the National Assembly tomorrow, that's today, May the 29th, it is important to state that this information is false and unauthorized, as the office of the president was not involved in the planning of this event. Well, so we
that's
do
where
not
we're at
really
right
know
now, Anne.
where we are at the moment.
Two aides of the president giving conflicting information. So that is what we have. We have put it across to you. But hey, we're not sitting. We have our correspondents live at the National Assembly just to follow whatever happens there for you. So definitely we'll be linking up with them during the course of the show this morning, just so you know what is happening. Well, the president is expected to inaugurate some projects, obviously, but that speech part is still what is contentious. Mr. Onanuga says he will give a speech. Ajuri Ngelale says, no, the president will not give a speech to the joint sitting of the National Assembly. But stay with us right here. We'll find out what the truth is in the coming hours. And
all right, I guess we'll find out, as Kayode said, what will happen. Will the president give a speech? I mean, if he doesn't today, it will be somewhat different from what has been happening, or the norm, which we know when presidents spend 1 year in office. I mean, they always talk about the last year, but I mean, it's still early in the day, so we'll definitely find out what will be happening in just a moment. But we'll go on a short break, right? In just a moment, we'll be back with the morning brief, so please stay with us.
On the economy, we target a GDP not less than 6% growth. We aim to accomplish all of this by taking the following step: budgetary reform, stimulating the economy without engendering inflation, industrial policy to utilize the full range of domestic manufacturing and lessen import dependency. The electricity will become more accessible and affordable to businesses and homes alike. Power generation should nearly double, and transmission and distribution network must improve significantly. We will encourage various state governments to continue to participate in this effort, power generation and distribution of their own. I have a message for our investors, local and foreign. Our government shall review all the complaints about multiple taxation. And review various anti-investment inhibitions. We shall ensure that investors and foreign businesses repatriate their hard-earned dividends and profits owed.
For Nigeria's 16th President Bola Tinubu giving his inauguration speech on this day in 2023. It's exactly 1 year since he assumed office as president of Nigeria. But the interesting part is one of the most memorable moments from that speech is something Nigerians are feeling till today and tomorrow. So what we'll do is we'll take some major parts of that speech and then we'll hear what Nigerians have been saying about it. The very first one, of course, will be that shocker, it will seem, for some people. It was
like he dropped a bombshell for a lot of people. It shocked Nigerians.
But maybe not on that day, and it's about subsidy removal. So take a listen to what President Bola Tinubu said about subsidy removal.
On fuel subsidy, unfortunately, the budget that I've glimpsed before I assumed office and what I've heard is that no provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone. Subsidy can no longer justify an ever-increasing cost in the wake of dry resources. We shall instead channel whatever to fund to better investment in public infrastructure, education, healthcare, and jobs that will materially improve life for people.
So 3 words.
Wow.
Subsidy is gone.
Gone. And that news wasn't well received by a lot of people. Originally,
it was received. You could hear the ovation right there. People clapped. There was a round of applause. But the question is, Anne, is that ovation still loud?
Exactly. So that's the question. We also asked, and a lot of people are reacting. They are still reacting till today about the fuel subsidy because, I mean, it's biting hard on a lot of Nigerians. But let's hear from the streets what people had to talk about.
Our Nigeria depends on one thing that controls the economy. Let there be sanity in fuel supply. Let there be sanity in fuel supply. Let fuel go down to normal price and every economic activity will stabilize.
The president, the first thing he said during his inauguration was that the subsidy is gone. Today the country has collapsed. No plan in place. Look at the rate of inflation. Everything has gone up. Nobody believes today that you can buy fuel for 800. Fuel today is 820 naira in Imo State. You can't access fuel. They said the subsidy is gone. What is the plan in place to cushion the effect of the removal of subsidy?
This subsidy of a thing is something that I think even if it's well conceived, is not well applied because they are taking away businesses from small business owners. The cost of running business now, there is nothing you do as a small businessman that you make profit because it's either transportation is taking everything you're making or petrol, diesel is taking everything you will make. You can't just buy petrol or diesel to run business. Solar panel, connections are they are very expensive. They are capital intensive. So we don't have alternatives. So you just wonder what the government is thinking. You wonder how they want us to survive.
Imagine buying a bowl of gari at the rate of 1,500 naira. For common man, 1,500 naira for a bowl of gari. So it is getting too much on Nigerians as a whole. The federal government should please, as a matter of urgency, address the economic situation of this country. It's getting worse every day.
The value of what Nigerians now earn in terms of income compared to the economic realities is really disturbing. And you can say on that note that Nigerians have become greatly poorer.
I am of the opinion that Mr. President should rebuild his economic team. Let him have another strong economic team that they can at least make life, better, that can make things, work for this country. Things are not working. Situations are hard. People are lamenting. From Lagos to Abuja, from Abuja to Kaduna, from Kaduna to Zamfara, from Zamfara, the situation is the same.
Wow. So you heard a lot of people talk about the economy, which means that the fuel subsidy in some way, or the lack of subsidizing fuel, definitely affected the economy. You heard a lot of people talking about the hard way they know how to live their lives.
Absolutely.
But also, on May 29, 2023, the president also talked about security. Well, has anything changed since the past 1 year? Let's find out what he said.
Security shall be top priority of our administration, because neither prosperity nor justice can prevail amid insecurity and violence. To effectively tackle this, we shall reform both our security doctrine and its architecture. We shall invest more in our security personnel, and it means more than an increase in number. We shall provide better training, equipment, pay, and far.
Well, it's instructive to say those service chiefs have since changed, and the president mentioned two things about security: reforming Nigeria's security doctrine, he says, and investing in security, not just manpower and the rest, but investment across board. But the question is, the taste of a pudding, yes, is in the eating. What are Nigerians tasting right now? Let's take a listen.
If government tackle insecurity, the problem of insecurity, the farmer will be happy. They will go to their farm and start, farming as expected.
Let him put hand on, providing, sophisticated weapons, arms, so that all this banditry and all these unknown gunmen and all these things will be chased out of this country, and things will move well. And also some other paramilitaries that are coming up. Let him give his accent to sign their bills, so that there will be enough security in this our country.
He has been able to address insecurity in the country, and I would also say, in terms of policies, there are so many humane policies that have been put in place, which needed to be implemented before Nigerians can actually feel the impact of governance. So I'd also say that anti-corruption wise, I would say we haven't done much as far as that is concerned, and a situation where we are getting more revenue and it does not reflect in the lives of our state. I think there's need for the anti-corruption agency to look beyond the federal, visit the state government, look into records and amongst other things.
All right.
So two major indices were rating the government on the economy and security. Removal of subsidy, of course, spiraled into the economy. So we've seen the inflation figures right now, 33.69%. That's the inflation rate. Food inflation is much higher than 40%. I'm seeing all of the indices across board. In terms of security as well, you feel it, you know it. So this is your opportunity to also be a part of the show. You can send in your comments how you rate this government across those promises made, those statements made by the president. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. That's where and how you can reach us on X. That is hashtag CTV Morning Brief. And you can also do that on WhatsApp.
Yes, on WhatsApp. You can reach us on WhatsApp. Remember, it's about how you feel, how this has affected you or those around you. I mean, economy economy, security. Those are the two major areas that we'll be focusing today. So don't forget, sending your comments, your messages, and we'll definitely be getting to them and reading them on the morning brief. But we'll take a moment now. We have more for you. Please stay with us.
Nigeria is concerned, we know Nigerians, we are not used to hard things. We really so dependent. Everything dependent on government, everything government. So if government now is no longer giving such things, people will begin to say this and that. But if you look at the world over, look at the history, you need people that, the countries that became what they are now, they have introduced so many changes. The whole thing is endurance. We have to endure and pray.
It is not easy to be a leader. So even a family leader, there is always problems. Now we are talking about the host of Nigeria at large. So he's trying on his own, but we can see that everywhere there is much hunger. So we are asking that he should be ameliorated. That's what I am saying. So that people will have access to food, have access to work, and also enjoy their lives. Many people are dying in the hospital, not just because that they want to die, but because there is no money to treat them.
We're starting off with our very first leg of the conversation. It's still our May 29th edition. 1 year in office for Nigeria's 16th President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we have our very first set of guests joining us live from our Abuja studio. We're joined by lawyer and lead director, Center for Social Justice, Sir Eze Onyekwe is right there in our Abuja studio, as well as development economist Ayo Oyalowo. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you.
Well, as customary, I'm sure you've heard Nigerians talk about their experience in 1 year in this administration. And I think it's only fair, because you are Nigerians first, before the other caps you wear, to give you a few seconds to talk about your experience in the past 1 year under the Tinubu administration. And I'll begin with Mr. Onyekwe, then Mr. Oyalowo.
Well, let me start by saying that it's been one hectic year of government policies which have more or less impacted negatively on the lives of Nigerians. These policies on their own need not necessarily have caused untold hardship, but it was about their management, their sequencing, and the way they've been administered. And so, in essence, we've had the misery index going up, more poverty in the land, inflation shooting through the roof, unemployment increasing, and of course the basic essence of government, which is about the security and welfare of the people, has not actually improved. We still have situations, I was listening on radio yesterday, that farmers were being asked to cough up money before they go to their farms. So in essence, if you look around, whether it's in the power sector with the hike in tariffs, or in the judiciary, the kind of somersaults we are having from the courts in Kano today, or you look around generally in Nigeria, nobody can say that the last 1 year had been quite good to him or her. It's been a year that we wish will not be repeated in the second year of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Well, Mr. Oyalowo, over to you now. He says it's a year you wish will never be repeated. Do you share those sentiments, Mr. Oyalowo?
Well, good morning once again, Nigerians. Yeah, it's been a hectic year, truly. It's been a challenging 1 year in office for President Tinubu. And we've seen so many policy rollout. And right now, I really believe that things could be better managed, truly, because when you talk about policies in a country, you are not talking to inanimate objects. You are dealing with human beings with flesh and blood. So I believe this 1 year should be for stock taking to see where they got it wrong and see what can be made better in the coming years, and where they got it right and then can be strengthened. Like we all know, when you put in policy, maybe we should check, see the impact before you do further things. Putting so many policies out at the same time is a bit not very nice, especially when you look at, for instance, we've had the devaluation in the currency because of the trying to bringing together all the different exchange rates. And when you've done that, then you came and then somebody overnight said they will charge bank customers again for cyber security, while you've just increased some band of electricity, creating a form of apartheid in electricity, and then you are doing all this at the same time. Definitely people are going to feel the pinch in a very negative way. So yes, there have been a lot of turbulence. There are good areas too that you can look at. The purchasing parity power of Nigerians have reduced, but you've been able to build the economy in some other areas, especially when you look at the amount of money coming in for states in terms of FARC and other things. But the challenge now is, what are the states doing with that humongous amount that has been coming into them? A lot of challenges that needs to be sought out. And we can't put everything at the doorstep of the president. He mentioned the judiciary. They need to look at themselves too. One court is churning out one thing today, the next day a court of coordinate jurisdiction is bringing out the same thing. I mean, all this scatter thing cannot continue, because really a country, like I said, is not made of inanimate objects. It's for people with flesh and blood, and we need to put human beings at the forefront of whatever thing we're doing.
Well, Mr. Oyalawo, since you talked about the economy already, maybe we start from there. If we recall on the economy, on the approach of prosperity, which was made by the president last year, it talked about fiscal policy and review federal government budgetary methodology as part of its prudent growth-based budgeting. Talking about being prudent, when we look at the situation today, there's been so many back and forth about government spending and cutting back on a lot of things by government officials. What do you see has happened in the last 1 year? Do you feel that this has been reflected in the journey so far?
Well, I know the president made some pronouncement about the number of people that can travel. I mean, those are areas of cutting down on public spending. But you, like I always say, you can't put everything on the presidency. While the president say, okay, for the executive, we're going to do this, what about the legislature? The president have no control over those ones. They are busy buying brand new cars. They are busy doing all manner of things. So we need to look at it holistically, and we need to call everybody out based on whatever they are doing. The executive is trying to cut down on spending. The legislature, I don't think they are doing the same thing. So, and like I also said, the states, I remember one of the governors bought very expensive, he said they are top of the range SUVs for whatever. So these are the issues. We've seen some governors trying to do the best they can. I mean, we remember the Niger State governor trying to be very proactive in terms of agriculture, buying tractors and trying to make sure that the farmers, but when you do that, you must also look at the angle of security. If you buy tractors so that farmers can work and then they are being chased away from their farms or being attacked by bandits and criminals, so then you are not going to achieve a lot. So we need to look at so many angles there. So insecurity, yes, the presidency has tried in his own right, changing the service chiefs and all whatnot, but I don't think we've achieved much. Even in Abuja here, we've had people being picked up in their homes, people being picked up on the streets in terms of kidnapping and all sorts. So the challenges are enormous, seriously, and the economy will not grow if security is not curbed. I mean, if insecurity is not curbed.
Well, we haven't delved into security yet. When we get there, we'll talk about security. Since we're still on the economy, Mr. Onyekpere, please respond to that if you share the same sentiments with budgetary allocation and being prudent with government spending in the country.
Well, let me start by saying that the executive have not even led by example, because at the end of the day, the buck stops at the president's table. The other day, Mr. Tinubu was going to Lagos. We counted over 80 cars in the convoy. So if you say they've cut down anything, that's a cruel and a huge joke. Now, even among the ministers, we understand each of them drives about 4 or 5 SUVs. And that's why the members of the National Assembly are saying, in the order of precedence and protocol, that they are far above those ministers. And that why would anybody complain that they are simply driving one SUV when these people are driving 3 or 4? So in essence, it's even beyond the legislature. The executive have not led by example. You saw the issue of the Rossini Committee report, which was brought up. It's been 2-3 months or thereabouts since it was brought up, and nothing has happened. And even if you look at, you are calling for prudence. Look at the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs who was asked to go, and the committee was set up, and they were given about 2-3 weeks to report back. Where is the minister? Has she been sacked? Has she been recalled? Everything is in limbo. Is that there is so much procrastination. Now, for me, the challenge with the economy is about the way the policies were sequenced and managed. For instance, the president from Eagle Square turned out that fuel subsidy is gone. At the time, he had no advisors. At the time, the ministers were not there. This is not a policy you announce from Eagle Square. It's a policy you sit down, and the great minds will do the projections. If we remove this subsidy, what will be the outcome? If we are planning palliatives, or if we are planning some things to, reduce the effect of the subsidy, what are those things? Those things should have been rolled out from day one. You don't wait for 1 year to begin to talk about rolling out CNG vehicles. Even as you are saying, okay, public sector, don't buy petrol-powered vehicles again. Where are even the filling stations that will deliver the CNG, assuming you buy all the cars today driven by the public sector? Maybe NNPC filling stations will do 1 or 2 in Abuja or in Lagos. And then if you are traveling from Abuja to Kano or to Lagos, the CNG finishes in the middle of nowhere. So policies are being rolled out without them being thought through, without them having committees that will strictly implement them, and without opportunities for what is called course correction. If you are going in this direction, and as you are going, you discover there is a challenge, you can make a detour. You can have that course correction. So even the figures that are being rolled out by the official agencies like the MBS, when you talk about inflation, those figures do not even actually tell Nigerians the extent of the rot in terms of inflation. Because I know most of the goods and services we are using, even if it is food, bag rice that was about 30,000 or thereabout 30-something thousand, suddenly went to 80-something thousand, 90. It has doubled the price and almost tripling. And you are telling me the inflation rate is still 30% or 30-something percent. Excuse me, we all went to school. We know what is 30%. If you are doing 100 and suddenly you add 30, it's 30%. Not when you are doing 100 and it doubles, 200, it gets to 300. You are still reporting 30% to me. So a whole lot of things have not been thought through. Whether it's the removal of the fuel subsidy and what should follow, whether it's also the floating of the Naira. I had expected that when the Naira was floated, and the president took the portfolio of the petroleum minister, because he's the substantive petroleum minister, I thought he has something up his sleeves to make sure we begin to at least meet our OPEC quota, or at least meet the budgetary quota that we set. For instance, this year we set about 1.7 or 1.7 something million barrels a day. We are still doing 1.2, 1.3. So as far as the budget is done, the budget is dead on arrival, because the revenue projections are dead on arrival. Okay, they are not meeting up. So how do you want to meet up? We are still doing ways and means, despite all the story we've had that it will have stopped. So in essence, nobody is sitting down. I would have thought by now that there would have been like a committee made up of fiscal policy, monetary policy, and trade policy, meeting from time to time, okay, to look at what is happening on all sides and be able to harmonize them and put them in one pack that will work for the betterment of the economy. Right. For instance, today, the president is assessing his ministers. Who is going to assess the Minister of Petroleum? And the Ministry of Petroleum supplies up to 90% of our foreign exchange earnings. And if we today increase our take or from foreign exchange, from petroleum to like say 2 million barrels a day or 1.8 million barrels a day consistently for a period of 6 months, I bet you the Naira will come back under 1,000. It will stabilize because that's the easiest way and the biggest way we've been earning foreign exchange. So what I'm saying in essence is that a lot of work needs to be done, which has not been done, and the buck stops at the president's table.
Indeed. Quite vital points you made. We've seen crude oil production improve, at least to some extent. Not where it ought to be, but it's done some improvement, about 7% increase to about 1.28 million barrels per day. And the Oronsai report, which is also a vital point you made, I recall the president had given approval in February. Early March, a 10-man committee, I believe, was given 12 weeks to come up with a report, which we had heard before. So by the calculation, 12 weeks is still in about a few weeks. So we wait to see that one, but it's a point to keep making. But let me come back to Mr. Oyalowo now. I imagine that he has some responses for some of the points you made, but I'd also like to take you up on this, in fact, both of you, because it's important to give updates. And Mr. Oyekbere said, we need to hear something about the Ministry of Petroleum, which the president is overseeing, and he's been rating his ministers of sorts. But who will rate the president? Well, Nigerians are here, but they want to hear from the president. But we saw some sort of conflict, and I'd like you to quickly speak to that. We saw Mr. Bayo Onanuga saying the president will address the joint session of the National Assembly today. Then we saw Ajuri Ngelale saying no. That is not going to happen. In fact, the office of the president is not involved. So in terms of messaging, there seems to also be a conflict, Mr. Oyalowo. What do you think is going on?
If you want me to tell you what is going on, then you are thinking I'm a psychic, or maybe
that's why I said,
I have
what
a
do you
good factor. I honestly have zero idea of what is going on there. And all I can say is whatever is going on there, it needs to be checked and handled with maturity and tact, because we can't be having such messaging. I saw it yesterday. Until now, I'm still wondering what is it that is going on. Although because both of them are my friends, I will find out later on and call somebody and find out what is going on. But I really can't answer that question right now. Yes, who will rate the president? I don't know, but at least I know there is a Minister of State for Petroleum. I think the ratings were done by a committee, and some other people. I mean, I think they've also put up an app for Nigerians to have their own input. I hope the general feelings will be reflected in the final assessment, because I think some ministers have not, I don't even know the names of some of them. I don't want to call them here. I think some of them have not really pulled their weight, and this is a challenge the president has. He came in with a vision, and probably the kind of people, some of them that went in with him, really don't either share or believe in it, because we have not seen it in action. So if a president is going to succeed, he has to go in with people who understand his vision and who can help achieve it. Like I always say, if you go into a business, for instance, as a change manager, you must go in with people who you think alike. So these are the challenges that the president needs to deal with, because as a president, he can only envision, he can only plan. He will need people to execute, and I think he's not been getting that kind of help. Because, like he said here, the petroleum subsidy is gone. Announcement on Adigu Square was just an announcement, because actually, if you follow what was going on, the outgoing governments at that time did not make budgetary allocation for subsidy beyond May, June that year. So he said it, but maybe the people who came in with him still don't know what they are going to do about it. Then we've looked at the fiscal and the monetary side of the economy. The monetary side, especially from the CBN, has been proactive, has been very active, but I've not seen so much from the fiscal side, especially that is from the Office of the Budget and Planning and the Minister of Finance and Coordination of the Economy. I've really not seen anything coming from there. I think they need to buckle up, because no matter what the CBN does from the monetary side, if the ones handling the fiscal do not do their own job, it will not meet up. Nothing you will do, you will just keep chasing shadows. I sat here the other day and I told them what I think they should be doing in terms of dealing with our forex challenges. And they did some, they didn't do some. And then finally, if you do not produce enough, if you do not diversify your economy enough, you will never get out of this rut, because our balance of trade as at today does not reflect our population. We export more, we import more than we export. So we need to learn to that, we'll get to that point, because I remember during the campaign, some of the challenges of the things that that was intended to be challenged is that some of the things that we're importing, you get the industry leaders to come into Nigeria, look at how we work together and get them to produce such things in Nigeria so that you don't import all these things any longer. You will create jobs, you will create the market and everything. But I haven't seen anything coming from the trade and investment department here. So these are the issues. People come into government and they don't understand what the president had in mind. They're just sitting down there and then you find out that the president thinks like this. The person who is occupying the office doesn't even know what the president is thinking, because their own reason for coming to governance is not exactly what the president wanted, have in mind. So he needs to reassess some of these people that came in with him, and some of them really don't have any business being in government.
So, Mr. Oyekpere, Mr. Oyalawa says there needs to be a review. Yes, you speak to that, and I'd like you to also touch on that conflicting statement we saw, because those are people that work with the president. Then of course you can dovetail into your point.
Okay, like he said, I'm not in a position to know exactly what is happening, and I thought the two offices that sent out these contradictory messages would have been in the best of terms and cooperating for the sake of the integrity of the presidency. And I even saw announcements on television asking Nigerians to tune in for a joint session that will be addressed by the president and even some former leaders. So I'm surprised at the turn of events. Just to zero in on the last things he said about importation and this relation to economy, even the CNG initiative, there has been a presidential committee. And that committee, it was just last week that either themselves or the minister were visiting a company in Southeast Nigeria that was already rolling out CNG-powered vehicles. At a time, they had given a contract for the importation of over 1,000 vehicles, and they were expecting to launch them maybe within this week of the anniversary. So the things you can do locally, you are importing. And then a minister is claiming, oh, I'm just seeing that somebody is even making these vehicles here. So this is just a critical point to show that there is no coordination. And like I did say, for whatever reasons I hear from the Petroleum Ministry why we can't meet our OPEC quota, or we can't even meet the millions of barrels stated in the budget, it's all the same old story. Oh, oil theft. Oh, rotten pipelines that are too old, lack of investment. It is the business of leadership to look for money and invest. Even if we are going to borrow and invest it in that cash cow, we know that we produce millions of dollars every day for us. And which we know that if we get back to production in the Jonathan days where they left about 2.1 million barrels a day constantly for 6 months, there is no way external reserves wouldn't be buoyed. There is no way the Naira wouldn't come back under 1,000. So there is no more excuses. And I thought that the reason for Mr. President keeping the Petroleum Ministry was an understanding of its critical nature and importance to the economy. And going forward, what I want to see is a situation where beyond what is being done in monetary policy, like he talked about fiscal policy, we should have a situation where those managing fiscal policy sit down, particularly when they're looking at the budget. We're almost going to enter the budget season. I have taken a critical look of, for instance, the 2023 supplementary budget and even the 2024 budget. Most of the critical sectors like agriculture that are supposed to deliver, if you look at your budget, all you can do is to cry, because the budget is couched in extremely nebulous, loose and willy ways. You put down 15-20 billion for a value chain in, say, cocoa or the palm tree or granite or whatever. You are not saying anything. Value chain is a very big and loose and woolly words. And this is what we have been repeating since Obasanjo's days up till today, and they are not producing results. And we are still insisting on continuing to do it, because whoever is insisting on doing the same old thing that is not producing results is staging himself to fail. We've created a new innovative ministry called, is it the blue economy or the maritime economy? What novel ideas is the minister bringing to the table? We've had Nigerians who have written and espouse a lot of beautiful ideas about how that maritime economy should be tapped, like Olisaba Koba is saying, former chairman of the bar. And I had expected, these are some of the people, even if you don't make him a minister, bring him close because the knowledge is there. Tap the knowledge that is available. You don't keep knowledge aside and appoint persons. What value has that minister brought to the table? Look at the Minister of Power. All we are hearing is increase in tariffs. There is nothing new. No new knowledge is being brought to the table. Even the fact that the new Electricity Act has been signed into law, devolving powers to the states, how are you encouraging them? What policy frameworks are being set up to make sure states accept this, new obligation? And my colleague here talked about humongous amount of money going to the states. I want to even disagree. It's not about saying you are giving me 1 trillion. What is the value of that trillion vis-a-vis 200 billion I was collecting in the last 2 years? Actually, the money we are collecting today, in terms of real value, may not be bigger than what they used to collect. But nominally, it is big. And also, the kind of people we have, I agree with him, at the state level, they are not accountable. Maybe that's part of the reason the Attorney General is going to court to talk about the state local government joint account so that it can be more transparently managed. These are the kind of steps I want to see, more of those steps going further in future. Block avenues for mismanaging resources at the state level, block at the local government level, block at the federal level, so that whatever little money that is available, we can begin to have value for it. I mean, if you go to the market and you want to buy a big piece of paper, they will tell you 200 or 300. I have thought that the high cost of food items should have created an incentive for younger persons to go into farming, for a lot of people to begin to do things. But there is a perverse incentive in the Nigerian economy. And even the security situation is not helping. So you have opportunity where an acre of land, you could make almost 1 million from it, and that land is wasting. People claim they're hungry, they're not doing anything, they're unemployed, and opportunity is lost. So the important thing government needs to do is to stabilize the security system, stabilize the economy, create that confidence so that these opportunities, because these things we are calling hardship are opportunities. The opportunities which can be tapped to bring out more food and to put more people in employment and for us to really exploit the value chain of this agricultural produce.
Well, I know Mr. Oyalowo touched on security earlier on while talking about the economy, and you're the first one on this.
Yes, so I need Mr. Oyalowo and Mr. Ekpere to listen carefully to this. One of the promises made by President Bola Tinubu on identity database in line with global practices. It says that our administration will sustain the current efforts on integration of all existing data and expand the database of other assets as useful tools for security and safety of citizens. He also touched on forest regions, which means that to prevent violent groups from using the forests and other public lands as hideout, we shall revitalize Ranger of Forest Guard Force, giving it core mandate to monitor, track, identify, and use our forest by any violent criminal groups. Now, when you look at that promise and you also look at what is going on currently in Nigeria, if you have database and you said you want to get much database to be able to track these criminals use mobile phones. These forests are occupied by these criminals. So what do you think has gone on in the last 1 year? Haven't these people been able to be tracked? Are they using a different kind of technology that the government cannot get to them? What is your own observation on this topic, on security?
I don't think they are using what cannot be tracked. I saw a picture about a week or 2 weeks ago of some bandits using Starlink in the forest. I don't know if Mr. Ekpere also saw that. It tells you that before you use Starlink, you have to be registered. You have to be registered. There is a card that will be charged to it because I use it. There's a card that will be charged to it every month that you pay. So the problem we've had is we have all the data. The challenges has been harmonization and proper usage of this data. For instance, one of my lines have been tossed because they said I did not register the line, which I did. So I've registered one of my lines 3 times. They will still say I've not done it. So these are the challenges. you create something. I'm not blaming this government because that started before, but government is a continuum. We have our NIN, we have our data with the banks. That's the one they call what is this number again? BVN. We have all the data. We have our TIN numbers. We have everything. But we have voters card. We have a national ID card. We have driver's license. We have international passport. But who will sit down and harmonize and put this in one place so that you want to get something, you just press one button and everything comes out? We need to harmonize this. We have NIMC doing one. We have the Ministry of Interior doing their own. We have everything. The problem is, how do we harmonize this data? These criminals can easily be caught if we are able to harmonize data. As I talk to you today, till today, people still get their money stolen from their accounts. People still get money stolen from there. And if you steal money from an account online, it goes somewhere. Where are those monies going to? So these are the problems. We will need all and we have enough technology in the country. We have young people who are smart, who are into tech. We have all these things. The problem has been, like I said, Mr. President went into office, and probably because this is not what it was used to, this is a federal system, people will be suggested to him. But I don't think those people have been doing their job enough. And this is the reality. Because if they've been doing their job enough, the previous administrations have combined, they've collected all the data for us. What have we used them to do so that we can solve some of the problems we are having? We cannot continue to have these kidnappers every day. Today you hear news of kidnapping, you hear news of this and that, and we are so helpless when these guys are also using technology. We have seen kidnappers and bandits doing videos and posting on social media, and every day we see these things. So who is monitoring this? Who is handling this? Not sit down and say we should pay cybercrime money in our account. It's not about just taking the fees. It's about actually doing the jobs. So people who came in with Mr. President that are not fit and proper, it's an opportunity for him to clear the audience table, bring in sensible human beings, young, smart people who can do the job, not just any young person, because age is not a challenge for me. You may be young and not smart. You might be old and still be smart. So bring in people who actually understand what you want to achieve. I didn't even know he said what you read for us now. So if he has said this, who is doing it? 1 year has gone and we have not seen any result. So which means people that came in don't even understand his vision, which means they are not working with him in tandem. So if you're not working in tandem with the president, you will not achieve the plan. 1 year has gone. 3 years now, you have only this year to actually govern. By next, everybody is planning for election again. So these are the issues and these are the challenges.
All right, Mr. Yekpere, Mr. Yalo said that people there seem not to understand how to help the president work out security solutions to tackle insecurity in the country. So if you were in a position to advise the president or talk about solutions to tackling insecurity in the country, what would be your immediate solution at the moment with the current insecurity problem in the country?
Well, I will place the lack of interventions at the highest level, whether it's in the presidency or the chief of army staff or national security advisor. It's like politics is trumping governance in the security sector. Politics is trumping governance in the security sector. Because like we have said, we've had all this registration from your voter's card to your BVN to your TIN to your driver's license to your international passport. And we are critically told at some point that if we don't link up our BVN and do all these biometrics, so that as soon as we do it, that anybody who uses the cell phone to commit any crime will be caught. That was what we were told in the last administration. And we quickly did all this. So why is it not happening? I think it's the lack of political will. For instance, today, the people of Plateau State have listed out 151 communities taking over where you've had crisis. And at the end of the day, the people who owned ancestral home were driven out. 151 communities, identifiable. In my office, I have a staff who belongs to one of those communities. They don't have an ancestral home again. And those who came, conquered them, so to say, in this modern age, took over their land, and the government is still there saying nothing. And all these issues about kidnappers calling to say, like the one they do in Kaduna, say, okay, before you go to the farm, pay us 100,000, is reported to the security agencies and nothing is happening. Okay? Even when the attack that happened during Christmas in Plateau happened, for 2 days, these people were killing. And the people who were being massacred said they called the security agencies. The security agencies later acknowledged they got the calls and said, oh, the terrain was rough. If the terrain was rough for you to come by SUV, so the helicopters or the airplanes cannot fly over the place. So I think that nobody should tell us that these security challenges are beyond what can be solved, or to tell us, oh, it's a security. Those of us who are not in the security forces should not tell them what to do. First of all, we can have command and control centers that are littered across the 6 geopolitical zones, from where you have a team of soldiers, mobile police, ordinary police, DSS and everything, who are ready and willing to move in 5 minutes once they are summoned. There will be helicopters, there will be vehicles, there will be armor tanks, there will be equipments. There's nowhere that aircrafts cannot reach, okay, in the next 30, 40 minutes across the federation. Even civilian aircrafts fly that way, not to talk of military aircrafts. And then you intervene once you get these calls. You move quickly. And the ones who are caught, have they been properly and expeditiously prosecuted so that people can see them get punished? And then others will now learn from them. But a situation where people are making money is a huge industry. People are making money regularly. They are not being caught. They are not being prosecuted. They are not being punished. And nobody is being sacked when there is a huge security lapse. Like what happened in Plateau during Christmas, 2 days of killing. Somebody was supposed to be sacked. Either the commandant, whoever is in charge there, the commissioner of police, or DSS, whoever is there was supposed to be sacked, as an example. But it's business as usual. Nobody was sacked. So why will they respond the next time? So there must be consequences for failure to perform duties. And then we must remove politics, all right, and get the best men and women to work and then do the job. It's not impossible.
Well, the president was elected for governance, not politics, so it's expected that people that come under him should engage in the work of governance. But we need to touch on this point as we wind down. Whether or not the president will speak today would wait to find out. But what should be done? Mr. Oyalawo said a lot of people seem not to be performing in that government. You seem to share that, opinion, Mr. Oyekpere. So if you were to name or mention, who will those people be? Because it's important to keep people accountable. They are for Nigerians, and Nigerians have a say on the work they're doing. So, Mr. Oyekpere, I know Mr. Oyalawo says he doesn't want to mention, but would you say that these ministries, these people, or this sector is not performing well, and the president needs to do something?
I will mention. I will. The security chiefs are not performing. There is no need dancing around China. The minister of power is not performing. There is no need. We need to tell him straight to his face. The people in charge of the blue economy are not performing. Straight to his face. I can't recall what is going on in education except business as usual. All right? The man in charge of works is not performing. Clearly, the Lagos-Calabar Expressway has shown lack of capacity. No environmental impact assessment. It's just move on. Okay? So there are a lot of them that are not performing. These are the ones that critically come to my mind because they've been in the public glare for some time. So we need to call them out. There's no question of you don't want to call them out. Okay? Water resources, culture, even agriculture, all of them, what exactly are they doing? We had money in the budget for dry season farming, supplementary budget, around 11.5 billion per geopolitical zone. And that was a budget that was passed November, December. Yeah. Where did they do that dry season farming? They should tell Nigerians. Well, we need to call them out.
I see that Mr. Oyalawo even suggested some names to you. So clearly, he's also reeling out some. But gentlemen, would like to thank you so much for your time. Quite an important conversation to have because it concerns the very, very livelihood of Nigerians and our nation at large. 25 years of unbroken democracy, 1 year into the Tinubu administration. How far have we gone? But thank you for providing insight, Mr. Eze Oyekpere, lawyer and lead director, Center for Social Justice, and Mr. Ayobami Oyalawo, development economist. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Well, don't forget to send in your own thoughts, your assessments as well, and even some of the areas you think that this government should improve upon. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief, and subsequently on the WhatsApp number you see on your screen. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we turn our attention to the youths, the young Nigerians. They say they are the leaders of tomorrow, but tomorrow is today, right now. So we'll take a moment, and when we return, there you have it, the WhatsApp number with which you can send us those messages. And if you've got videos, video reactions of what you think of this government, send them in, okay? We're here to take them. We'll take a moment, and when we return, our youth panel joins us. You don't want to miss the energy on that team. Stay with us.
Administration must create meaningful opportunities for our youth. We shall honor our campaign commitment of 1 million jobs and the digital economy. Our government also shall work with the National Assembly to fashion an omnibus job and prosperity bill. This will give our administration the policy space to embark on labor-intensive infrastructural development, improvement, and encourage light industry, provide improved social services for the poor, elderly, and vulnerable.
Welcome back. Of course, there's still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. And you just heard the President, Bola Tinubu, talking about youth empowerment and how to help youth in the next 4 years. But the question is, has anything changed in the last 1 year? Well, we'll be having those answers. We have two guests. Oladimeji Fabiyi is a PDP stakeholder, strategic management consultant. And of course, we have Andrew Abu, who's the chairman of the Progressives Forum, and he's also a member of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let me start with you, Mr. Fabiyi. President Tinubu talked about youth employment. He also said to cut youth unemployment rate in half, and that will happen in the next 4 years. So we have 1 year gone already. If you do the maths or you do the ratings, do you think that in the next 4 years he will be able to cut youth unemployment rate into half?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. For me, I think Mr. President made lots of promises, a lot of pledges, you know, when he came in, especially from what he just showed us now. Not just promises for the youth, promise on the economy, promise on security, promise on employment, and ending, extreme poverty and all of that. All these are a combination of things that can actually help the youth, because if you create employment, if you succeeded in creating employment and jobs for the teeming youth, the youths will be better off. I don't think there will be any complaint. As far as I know, a lot has not been achieved in that regard. In May 2023, 2023, when Mr. President came on board, he made pledges on how to remodel our economy, that will bring about growth, that will bring about development through food security, through employment, through ending, extreme poverty and all that. But 12 months down the lane, I don't think we've been able to achieve most of these things. The question on how to assess this government, whether on youth, policies made on youth or any other sector of the economy, is to ask a question of what have they been able to do, what have they done, what have they not done, what have they achieved, what they have done, and all of that. So, but for me, based on the question you just asked, I don't think the Nigerian youth have been able to get better deal from where the standpoint of the government at this level. This is just 1 year into the government. I believe that if the government is serious enough, there's still room to do more to make sure that the youths feel the impact of the current leadership and feel the impact of being Nigerians. So it's still possible. It's still possible.
So maybe you talk about what he has achieved so far in the last 1 year.
Like I said, much has not really been achieved. Because we still have lots of our youths on the street looking for jobs.
Yeah, Mr. Abu, please answer that.
Provide jobs for them, then what have we achieved? So I challenge the Minister for Youth to tell us what they've been able to achieve in the last 1 year in providing youth, good work, employment for our youths.
Mr. Oladimiji, was for Mr. Abu to respond to that, particularly when you see that the youth unemployment rate, which Anne talked about, has not reduced. Yes, he said 4 years, but over the past 1 year, rather than seeing a reduction, we're seeing an increase. It's about over 8% at 8.6%, and just before the president came in, it was 6.9%. So we're seeing an increase, and they say that, you will know the direction of a thing even from the very early stages of the steps being taken. So, Mr. Abu, we're seeing an increase, not a decrease. So can we still achieve that to begin with?
Well, thank you for having me, and I want to say congratulations to Mr. President and his team for the 1 year anniversary of this government. So back to what the president had promised and what if it can be achieved. So first off, promises, I always say this, that promises are totally different from reality. But having said that, it's important also for people to know that the president has created a student loan, and this is tailored towards, young Nigerians who falls within, the youth demography. So yes, so is the government doing in regard to how the lives of young Nigerians can be better off? Yes. Now, 1 year, the question I'll be asking is, 1 year, is it enough to rate a government that has 4 years to run? The answer is yes or no. Now, if you say yes, like you said, it is from, the start of a government that you will know how it is going to turn out. Unfortunately, governance is not run like that. A lot of times, before you get into an office, you make promises, and by the time you get into that office, what you are going to be faced with will be totally different from what you even think you knew from the outside. So yes, this government met a lot of issues on ground, and this is not to say that government is not a continuum, there are challenges, of course, from the campaigns until elections came and passed and the government got inaugurated. There are challenges, and the government and the president acknowledged these challenges, even right during the campaigns. So yes, we have found ourselves in a place where, there are issues here and there. Are these issues being tackled? Yes, they are being tackled. Are these issues tackled the way Nigerians expect them to be tackled? Maybe people will have their reservations and differences about how this is, the approaches on how problems, that is confronting us from every angle, be it youth or, senior citizens or women and men. I mean, there are ways people expect that the government should handle this. So I know of the fact that the government is doing their best to, ensure that things get better for it. Yes, we might not be seeing a lot of things that the government is doing yet, and it's simple. There are a lot of, programs that is ongoing that is going to be midterm, short-term, midterm, and long-term, and I so far, there are a lot of things that is happening that, results will start showing from maybe second year or even third year, So yes, there's work to be done, and the government and the president say that much for every time he has an opportunity to speak to Nigerians, And, from different times he has said he wished there were other ways, to solve these problems. Unfortunately, there are no other way but the way, he's going about it. So yes, we need to give a little bit of time to see, how things can, turn out for the good of all of us.
All right, let's go to Mr. Fabiyi. We know that entrepreneurs play a major role in the economy of Nigeria, especially when most people come out of school, they don't get jobs, so a lot of people just move into entrepreneurship. So the president also made a promise about youth entrepreneurship and job creation. It said that business incubation centers, it will expand incubation centers just to support youth innovators. How much effort has been put into expanding these incubators or creating them? Because most of the time we see that corporate organizations or private institutions are the ones who actually create these incubators. So do you think that the government should be working with these private institutions, or do you think the government can do this alone?
The level of how much they kidnap people and the level of how so many things was happening sporadically at some point has reduced to a drastic level. Now today we can comfortably say, have the level of insecurity reduced in the last 3 to 4 months drastically? Yes, it has. Okay? And we agree and also accept the fact that government needs to do more. And this government and the president, the beauty of it is that the president feels the pains of Nigerians and he speaks to this all the time. But it is important for the people that work with the president to know that this is very, very important to Nigerians, and their efforts and what we expect from them must be met. Otherwise, the president has the big stick and he has to wield it at some point. Now, we can agree that 1 year or maybe 8 months of the ministers in place is not enough to give them a scorecard, okay? But the fact remains that for everything we expect from them, we need to start seeing those signs. It goes beyond just talking. They must walk the talk. And this, for us, is our party and it is our government. The president is going to finish after 4 years or 8 years and leave. We will still remain here and we will still campaign for the APC. And we will still want our government to continue in governance. Okay, so it is very important for us to always ensure that we hold all government officials accountable and ensure that they do what they are supposed to do for the common good of Nigerians.
Mr. Abu, since you have so much faith in the APC, of course you're a member, so it's expected. Let's look at the future. In the next 3 years, what do you see government putting more, maybe prioritizing? Because maybe we borrow some faith from you, from what has gone on in the last 1 year. In the next 3 years, what do you think we should be seeing the present administration achieving?
So in the next 3 years...
Specifics.
From every indication, agriculture we are going to have some reasonable level of growth, because you see, like I said earlier, a lot of things that are in place that the government is doing correctly, there are things that you might not have results till after 2 or 3 years. Agriculture, from what we can see, even though the people manning that ministry need to step up a bit, have more communication. I think part of the problem these ministers are having is they don't communicate, their policies and their actions, So they need to step up and communicate more with Nigerians. Let's know what they are doing. Now, I am privileged to know a few things that they are doing, and that's why I can say in the next 2-3 years, we'll see results, growth in that path. Then education, youth empowerment, and all of that. These are things that does not happen by fiat. They are things that, it has an incubation period, and that is what we are experiencing right now. And we will keep tabs on these things to ensure that all those policies does not derail, so that we can achieve a good fit by the end of 3 years. And I want Nigerians to keeping faith and know that things are going to change. The economy is going to have a turnaround. As of this morning, when I was checking, the exchange rate, it has dropped from 1.5 to like 1,100, per dollar. Now, with time, these things are we will see the results, because I know that the economic team, they are working very hard. Yes, we know they need to do more, and we'll put them under pressure to do more. Because Nigerians, and even us, we're tired of hearing excuses. And we want to see the people saddled with responsibility deliver on the responsibility they are saddled with, and nothing short of that. And we'll keep holding them accountable, and we'll keep, putting pressure on them. Because I am first a Nigerian before an APC member. Saddled with.
Well, Mr. Abu, how much did you say naira to the dollar is now?
As of this morning, I heard is 1,000. Official rate I heard is 1,100 to a dollar.
Okay, that's really curious, because I haven't gotten that memo, but maybe we'll find out who the dealer is, and hopefully we can all enjoy that largesse, as they will sing. But let's wind down, gentlemen, because the figures are out there. A lot of them are in the red. Just perhaps a few of them you can point to that have been fluctuating, but majority of them are in the red. So this renewed hope that the president promised, and is still promising, needs to come through ASAP for Nigerians. So, Mr. Fabi, I want to come to you, because there's been a back and forth. Will the president speak to Nigerians today or not? Even his aides don't seem to agree on that point. If you would want to hear from the president, what is that thing you want to hear the president maybe say to Nigerians, in terms of, is it apologize or keep promising Nigerians and say, don't worry, stick with me, I'll make this work? What kind of messaging do you expect from the president, and decisions do you expect today regarding governance?
Well, thank you very much. I think Mr. President has a lot to do, a lot to tell Nigerians, because he's going to give the scorecard of what he has been able to achieve in the last 1 year. But beyond that, I am an advocate of a president or a leader that has the capacity to take tough decision. But your tough decision, there's something in risk. We did in risk, it's called calculated risk. So your tough decision must be one that is calculated and that is going to be geared towards achieving your objective, or your stated objective, your goals. For me, I'm hoping Mr. President will be bold enough to tell us some of the mistakes, some of the things they've not been able to achieve, the ones they've been able to achieve, and how they are going to achieve it. It goes beyond just speaking about reforms. Your reforms and how to implement them must be clear, because when you have reforms or policies that are not that are lack destination, you're going to run into trouble. you're going to be going into trial and error all the time. And that's what I wouldn't want that to, I wouldn't want that to continue. For me, Mr. President should tell Nigerians, it's going to be about action. It's not going to be about talk, because Nigeria needs action. They need to get things done. Nigerians are in a hurry. Nigeria has become a desperate country that need to do something very drastic to get them back. So for him and for the entire country, it's good if Mr. President can come out today and tell Nigeria as it is, tell them the honest truth, tell them the hard decision he wants to take and how he's going to achieve them. That's exactly what we're expecting. Nigeria is not having it good, really good now. They've suffered from abysmal failure of Buhari's 8-year government, and it's impossible. It's unacceptable to continue with this government. So we've just done 1 year. So we still have 3 years. And Mr. President and his team still have opportunity to make a detour and get things done and get it right. So that's my take on that.
Well, it's quite interesting. Now, I'll find out what Mr. Abu has to say about that. Yes, NAFEM exchange rate 1,170 something, and that's because of the interventions we've seen from the CBN. But the black market rate, of course, is more than that. So, what would you want to hear from the president, Mr. Abu? And what decision would you want him to make? By the way, are you also shocked by the back and forth between his aides, whether or not he will speak? Is that something that is expected as well?
So I'm surprised that happened, but I think it's an internal problem and it's going to be resolved. Okay, yeah. So there's a gap. There's an obvious gap in communication between, the spokespersons to the president, and yeah, I mean, we're humans. Those things happen, But I know it will be corrected. Now, my appearance on this TV this morning is not going to be complete if I leave here without mentioning, the different level of infrastructural development we've had in the last 1 year. Of course, as you know, the president, because of course I saw your cameras there, the president did a bit of commissioning and is going to continue with that, from today till, sometime next month. Okay, so yes, to a large extent, we've seen a bit of leap, in infrastructure for just 1 year. So I'm give and take, I'm looking at, another 2-3 years, what, the country is going to experience when it comes to, that aspect. Yes, so I'll expect the president, to speak to Nigerians and, give them more hope, and let's see practicable hope, and let's see things that, can revive that hope that the average Nigerian always latch on to survive, Okay. Good thing is our mantra has been the renewed hope, and we want Nigerians to keep believing. Look, I'm a Nigerian, and I always believe in this country, and I know that this country is going to work for the good of all. Now, it doesn't have to do with the president, or it has to do with Nigeria, and if it's good for us, if the country is better for it, it's going to affect everybody positively.
Thank you very much. All right, that's a good place to end this segment. Mr. Andrew Abu, chairman of the Progressives Forum and member of the APC, and of course, Mr. Oladimeji Fabiyi, PDP stakeholder, strategic management consultant. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your contributions on the program today, and thank you and happy celebration. Oh, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we want to hear congratulations. We want things to work. We say that you don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. So we have faith. I mean, this is a country we have. We can't go anywhere. So we hope that things work out. And in the next 4 years, or 3 years, we'll be saying wonderful stories about the beautiful things that have been created in Nigeria. But we'll go in a moment now. We'll go on a short break, or we definitely will be back with more. You don't want to miss the next segment. It's a comedian, so stay with us. Welcome back. This is still the Morning Brief on Channels Television. And before we went on that break, Kayode said, why did I introduce a senator? That we're having a senator as our next guest. Well, you'd see for yourself if he's a real senator or he's a fake one. But Bethel Njoko, senator, as he's fondly called.
Yes,
distinguished. Actor, comedian, all the way from Bangladesh.
I knew Anne was going to bring it down.
You know, I can't stop you. I had to tell you from Bangladesh.
I know.
So Yoruba will say, how did you come from Bangladesh?
Oh, okay. So that's what it means in Yoruba.
No. It doesn't mean
what you spoke.
Coming all the way from Bangladesh.
So Shoko Jepo means essentially, I hope your vehicle didn't take too much fuel. It's just a way to say, we hope you had a safe
trip. Yes, I had a safe trip from Bangladesh in Nigeria.
So where did this senator name come from?
Oh, well, I've said that over and over again.
Well, you need to say it again.
You need to say it on the morning break.
Which of the constituencies you represent?
Anyway. Yeah, so I think started from when I decided that, okay, this is the line I was going to toe. You know, the stand-up thing. That's about the first generation, I mean, in this our new age democracy. You know, when the Obasanjos entered and that year, 99s and right. So at that time, being a senator was a fancy. You know, you see when they come in like this, everybody just, you know, looking at them as if we just wanted to find out what the laws were saying just through their physical appearance. So it was an ideal. So I decided that, okay, maybe for comedy, for what makes you laugh, I should decide that. I became a senator of comedy.
Fantastic. And it's quite interesting. That's why we have you on the show today on different levels.
Yes.
Your career is almost as old as the Fourth Republic.
Yeah, right.
That's that's part of the things we're celebrating today. 25 years of unbroken democracy, 1 year in office for President Bola Tinubu. And just before we came on air, we were joking and saying, do Nigerians still find anything funny at this stage? You're a comedian. Your work is to take all of the good, the bad, and the ugly in society and present it to people, satire, comedy, try to find a way to make them laugh.
Exactly.
Are Nigerians finding things funny, Senator?
I wouldn't want you to go try it yourself because I know they will lynch you. It's not an easy time now in Nigeria. Everybody knows that. You know, everybody knows that. I think even the president understands that, which is the reason why when his supporters were shouting, on your mandate, we shall stand, he said, keep quiet. This mandate, myself don't really understand, man. Calm down first. Let's know where we're standing. You know, so it's not an easy time. The streets are not finding it funny. People are not, you know, really, people are getting so agitated over nothing. I mean, like, I'm not saying over nothing, but I mean at the slightest provocation. Provocation, you know, somebody flares up. You know, you see people walking on the street and they're talking to themselves. It's not really the kind of narrative I think we should be expecting from, you know, the government. That is not to say that there are no sparks of, you know, because me, when I witness a spark that looks, you know, good in the right direction, I must always, you know, acknowledge that. The Minister of Interiors has actually stood out, I must say. I witnessed that myself. I went to renew my passport, my 10 years passport. It took me like 3 days or so. And it came out. You know, so I said, wait, did you do this thing because of my face? They said, no, not your passport. I said, for real? So I think the man, you know, has it planned out. But as to how it's going to really go through, I don't know, you know, about that. But the man seems to, you know, be restoring some kind of faith. You know, because a friend of mine also called me from America and said, I'm coming in and my Nigerian passport has expired. I'm tensed. I don't know what's going to happen. I said, but the minister says here in Nigeria that if you come in, there's no problem. But you can now, you know, renew it before you go back. And that's exactly what happened. The person was even shocked. Said, now Nigeria be this. I said, I'm in. You know, so at least in that dimension.
Things can work if we want
I've witnessed that one. You understand? I've witnessed that one. But a whole lot I've not witnessed, I must say to you.
So what would you now say? Because you talked about ministers, and there are over 40 of them already. If a poll was conducted last week, and people recognized only 3 ministers working, it means over 40 of them are still not doing enough to show people that, oh, this country can work. What do you think should be done now? I recall President Tinubu saying that anyone who doesn't perform will be kicked out. should that be a drastic measure at this point that we are now?
Yeah, I think it should be a drastic measure. Even for consolation, 1 year is okay for you. So let's moving forward. Let's now start working. Because you know how this our politics is. It's always a consolation at some point. Oh, you helped me get this particular ward. You helped me get this particular zone. Just become a minister. So for your CV, it has worked for you. For some of the things we cannot really trace. You understand? It has worked for you. But 1 year is just okay. Let us start working. Anybody who is not really working in their own dimension, do a shake-up. Let's change the routine. It should be business as usual.
You have former minister on your CV.
Exactly.
And you can brag.
You can brag.
Yes. Former minister.
Yes. There's been a former president for 3 months. I mean, it works. It's good for your CV.
So you expect to see those drastic measures?
Yes, please.
But I don't know if we can learn from you, really, because comedy is one of the industries, or comedians as some of the professionals. I don't know if people see you as professionals, but I see you as professionals that I respect a lot. Because of the work that goes into your craft. I mean, just try to make somebody laugh, and you know how tough it is.
Especially in this country.
Exactly. So you come up with your sets, you write your jokes, you rehearse them, you perform them, you test them, and then on the day you bring your set up and you deliver the punchline. Sometimes people don't laugh.
Yes.
But then you find a way to get them to laugh, pick up something, a nuance in the audience. And so if this government were to learn from you, because it looks like president has tried some measures, people are not laughing. So as a comedian, what do you do to say, okay, let me retrace my steps, pick on something, and then you deliver it again and they laugh? I don't know if it's something practical.
It's practical. It's practical. It's the same whole process. You're dealing with human beings. So we're talking about behavioral patterns. There's no standard way to a behavioral pattern. So if, for instance, as a comedian, I try something, it don't work.
People's strong face.
Yes. It will mean that I'm underestimating the kind of audience that I have. So I need to re-strategize. What I'll do now is to engage the people. They have to be part of the process.
Brilliant.
Yes. So if I were to sell the idea to the government, you came and underestimated Nigerians. And now you have seen that these Nigerians are beginning to ask questions, are beginning to, put pressure. Are beginning to have a space called social media, for instance, where they can express themselves with their small 100 naira, 50 naira. Those ones that load 100 naira, they're the ones that put the fire in this country. Yes.
Keypad warriors.
Yes, keypad warriors.
Right.
Where somebody will throw something and then it's flaring up. Boom. But his data has finished. He doesn't even know what the response is. And then off he goes. You understand what I'm saying? So you now need to understand that there's a shock effect happening. It might be mild now, but it's going to grow wild much later. I can assure you that in the next election, I'm not being a prophet. You understand? Or do I have the powers? Like somebody will say, I got the powers. You understand? I'm very sure that the politicians will not find it funny. No surprise if you see one politician, they run for street, they for sure. Because it's getting to that point. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't underrate the citizens anymore. Begin to engage them sincerely. Don't say that we have a scheme where we're dashing people 50,000. Where scammers are beginning to now send text message. The APC is happy for you're supporting that. Send your account number, I want to credit you. All those things, those are the things that give room for that. You don't need to give people money. Shock it into the system. We'll go feel it. Do you get what I'm saying? If you shock it into the system, we self go feel it. I can feel a government. I've never met the Minister of Interior before, but I saw his policy rub off on me when I went to renew my passport. You get what I'm saying? That is how you affect the people. Don't say, every house, 20,000. How you want to know every house? Some houses there on that bridge. Did you know?
No,
they just discovered them. So you shock it into the system. Put it in the policy where people can feel it. But if they can't feel it, what are we talking about?
Brilliant.
Well, Senator, we've talked about youth unemployment. We've talked about bringing up young people. I mean, the government cannot do all of this alone. As much as we depend on government to provide so many things for us, private sectors, individuals who people who mean well for the country must also contribute their own quota in ensuring that we get this job done in this country. So as a comedian in your own industry, how well do you bring up young talents or encourage young talents to also get their own path right? And because, when you get someone to the top where you are too, he will also bring up other people. So what have you done in that regard?
Okay, so, you know, when it comes to this age, when a lot of artists complain, oh, carry me along, I find it funny. I find it very funny. Back in my days, when we were still, you know, under tutelages of the likes of Julius Agu, Bakassi, Alibaba, back then, when there was no social media, if you want to be known in Port Harcourt, you have to travel, take your act to Port Harcourt. If you want to be known in Kebbi, you have to travel to Kebbi and trade your act there. But in this age, social media is there. I'm in my room and I post something. It becomes very funny. It becomes a viral content. So you need to take charge of what you have. Take charge of what you have and sell yourself. Somebody came out and say, I could have killed a lot of people. Only his voice is all over the world. Somebody will come out and say emotional damage. It's all over. He doesn't need to travel to this place. So the upcoming, or rather the young talents, must explore those avenues. I don't need to start, you know, dragging you and say, no. You know, some people go like, just put me on AY platform, put me on basketball platform. The truth is, if you utilize this time, utilize the opportunity, it's the AY that will come and look for you. It's the basketman that will come and look for you and put you on their platform. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. I just think that some of us are creatively lazy and they don't want to take opportunities, you know, into their hands. That's always my, you know, take on this. If you were back then when, I remember back then when we were still under Julius Agu, it used to be me, Dan the Humorous, Funny Bone, and Osama, a comedian in Jos. Just the four of us. Then we used to go with Julius everywhere. You don't have a choice. Then for we that were in Lagos then, I and Dan the Humorous, that's how we follow Julius. If he's going for a meeting, if he's going anywhere, that's how we learned how to do proposals. That's how we learned how to present ourselves. That's how we learned, you know, that was how we were going around. At the end of the day, we were sleeping in Julius's house. And the next morning, you tell you we need to go. You say, where did they go? Where did he say they go? I said, what?
And it sounds like that, actually.
And I'm like, but bros, not be this thing I go wear now. I need to change clothes. You want clothes? Come my wardrobe. Now look at my size. And look at the Julius Agu. You end up wearing his clothes. You are going out, people are asking you if you are doing rag day. You understand what I'm saying? So those times are quite different. You know, so the younger ones now, the creatives now, need to utilize this opportunity. The network is very ample. There's Facebook, there's YouTube, there's something chat, there's Snapchat. You know, some of us don't know. There's another one other dangerous one like that. So, you know, they pay revenues on this platform, so they should utilize it.
Interesting. You know, I love the depth in your craft and in your person. So, and to be a good comedian, you have to be deep, because you have to be able to pull different things together and make people laugh. So we've smiled, and I imagine Nigerians out there have had something to chuckle about during the course of this conversation. But is there one joke that you are sure that even if things are tough, even if you perform this joke during a funeral where people are crying, they are most likely to crack and laugh? Maybe you can just help us out this morning and give us a dose of that.
A reason to laugh.
A reason to laugh. Some people congratulated the president, even former President Buhari sort of congratulated.
Oh, congratulated?
Yeah, sort of, and said Nigerians should support him. Just in a nutshell, that's what he said.
They should support him.
Nigerians should support him.
Okay, as we supported him.
Exactly, for 8 years. So, Senator, it's a tough call, but over to you now. Give us something to laugh about.
Well, for me, I just think everything is laughable. It just depends on where you are looking at it from.
Okay, I'm laughing already.
For me, I started laughing when you said that. I started laughing when you said the former president said. I didn't know that he could still talk up to now. Anyway, but that is by the way.
He released a statement. There you go.
Anyway, that's by the way. We thank God that he still released a statement up to now. I thought he was far away in the farm. So I always tell people about identity. We need to begin to understand why we are Nigerians and be proud to be Nigerians. A friend of mine did a video. They relocated to the UK recently. Like 1 year ago.
He recorded where his children were making a presentation with foreign accent. He said, just this 1 year one, I don't reach here. So they're not speak foreign. And I'm like, is that an achievement? You understand what I'm saying? I don't think it's a disappearance of identity. Now, back to the main issue, which is the joke, actually. Because a long set, you called for it. So,
do your thing. We have a minute.
So, you know, we here in Nigeria, there's a way you speak now. They say, this Yoruba man, see your accent. But I don't think that's a problem. You know, an Indian man will go away for 30 years, the same way he speaks. But here in Nigeria, somebody travels for 1 week. A friend of ours, Obi, went to China, came back after 1 week with American accent. So we're asking,
what happened?
What do they speak there? So we said, Obi, how was your trip? He said, damn, man, you don't say that.
That's Mandarin American accent.
I said, what did they happen? So we left him 2 weeks after. We still saw him. Obi, Alpha, by now it's supposed to balance. He said, damn, man, you don't say that. Yeah. I said, now, wow. So one day he called me and said, Senator, man. I said, yeah, Obi, what's up? He said, I want to buy some shirts. He said, some shirts. I said, take me to where I can buy some shirts. Okay, good. I took him to Alaba Market. And you know Alaba Market, human beings are buying, spirits are selling, different people.
So, Senator, you know what we'll do?
Senator.
We are going to enjoy
we'll
the joke.
Continue the joke.
After the show, but we'll ensure to tell you how that joke ended if I will do a video, but not to worry. Senator, I would like to thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you. We can do this for hours. I'll never get tired.
Yes. Beto Onjoku, Senator, comedian, thank you very much for coming on the show. And congratulations for that UK tour.
UK tour is coming up.
Well done.
October.
Look forward to that.
All right, and this is where we come to the end of the program. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
And I'm Kayode Kikiolu. Sunrise Daily is next, and we'll have a big package for you today, being May the 29th. Stay with us.
God bless Nigeria.
Amen.